Hello, good evening. I'm Josh Cherney. I'm the Director of Development at OUisrael. Thank you all again for coming. It's my honor to introduce Mrs. Jen Airley. Jen, together with her husband Rob and family, made Aliyah from the US to Ramat Bet Shemesh in 2006. The Airley family's lives have forever been changed, as many of you probably know, changed and charged when the Ribono Shel Olam took their son Binyamin to be with him on Hey Kislev on November the 18th, when he fell in defense of OUisrael. Hashem Yikom Damo. Since then, Jen has been traveling, sharing their family's passionate love for Eretz Yisrael, Yisrael, and Torah Yisrael. And together they've also founded Bet Binyamin, a retreat center in Tzfat, aiming to give respite, recovery, and rejuvenation to those directly affected by the war. So it's my great honor to welcome Mrs. Airley up to the stage, or next to the Aron Kodesh. And Shir has been sponsored anonymously. We thank the sponsors in memory of Gibor Yisrael Tzur Avraham, that's Tzur ben Shema v'Yifat, Shem Yikom Damo, and with prayers for the success of our soldiers, the return of all the hostages, and the healing of the injured body and soul. Thank you.
Hi. A real honor to be here and to be sharing some Torah. I'm a rookie at all of this. That's the truth. And when I was asked back in August the title of a shir, we didn't even get into Elul. I was just thinking, like, how am I going to enter Elul, yet alone Asereti Mitzvah? Where's my head going to be? I was hoping for some Ruach HaKodesh. But, so the title is The Silence Between the Shofars. And I'll share some ideas of these really glorious, beautiful, and special days that we have. So the real question is, if we know the shofar is there to wake us up, Yeshenim, right? We blow this shofar, not just Elul, but really starting Rosh Hashanah, wake up, Am Yisrael, wake up. And if that's the goal, then, and we finish off with the shofar blowing at the end of Yom Kippur, why don't we have it during Asereti Mitzvah? Like, stay awake, people, stay awake. I know you're falling asleep after Slichos, I know but no, stay awake. Right? Don't we need the shofar blows during this time as well? But I think there's something so inviting, so important about the silence. What do I mean, the silence of Hashem just saying, listen, you got woken up. I want to see how you fly now. I want to see your inner voices. I want to see what you're going to make of these days, what you're going to do, what you're going to accomplish. Forget the outside shofar, the fireworks. Don't worry about that right now. I want to see you and your insides. So just to share a few ideas of when we blow the shofar and what the fireworks were. And in fact, the Chafetz Chaim, there's a story that he used to carry around the shofar with him all the time in his bag, that when he would need to wake up himself, he would blow the shofar. And the idea is that he said, though, I need to wake myself up, but really, if I don't wake myself up inside, the ram's horn isn't going to do anything. I first have to wake inside up. So we had the first shofar blowing at Matan Torah that we know of, the shofar, the kolot ubrakim, and the fireworks, the Har Sinai moments of seeing the thunder and hearing the lightning and all the excitement. And we get this Aseret HaDibrot. And then, it's not so long afterwards, we went back downhill to Chet HaEga. Did it last? Did all the fireworks, did all the loud shofar blasts keep us up? When did we get the next luchot? That was Yom Kippur. Moshe went up quietly. It was an intimate time. And that's when we received these second luchot, those are the ones that were the enduring ones, in the quiet time, in the silence. Sometimes the noise wakes us up, but it's the quiet that's really more of the transformation, yes? Then we have another shofar blast. When there was so much drama of Eliyahu on Har Carmel, And there was the fire literally falling from the Shamayim. And we're screaming, crying, Hashem hu Elokim. But we also weren't changed forever then either. Yes? That's when Elisha had to come. Eliyahu runs away and Elisha takes over. And v'acharei ha'esh kol dmama daka. It's going to be quiet afterwards. It's not going to stay the thunderous excitement, the fireworks. Hold on to the quiet. And again, true change, that's the quiet, the gentle, the consistent, the persistent, the lasting change. Yes, the shofar is the ur yishenim, the alarm clock. But then it's the silence that we need to move forward with. And this is the Bein Rosh Hashanah LeYom HaKippurim. You know, when Rav Moshe Weinberger speaks, anyone hear Rav Moshe Weinberger? When he talks and he pauses, those pauses are actually like more piercing than any words, any noise. His quiet moments are actually so deep. You know, when you think about music, by the way, this is actually a halacha about shofar blowing. Shofar blowing, if you do the Tekiah, Shvarim, Torah, back to back, it's actually invalid. You need the break in between. Just like any music, yeah? You play a song in music and you keep playing the same note over and over and over. It's not music, it's noise. But the stopping is actually what makes it so beautiful. Okay, I just want to do a few practical pieces because I think there's so much to take away from just what we've said so far. That sometimes, by the way, it's so important, especially these days, to just take that quiet, to take the silence, take a few minutes, to have time to think. It's so hard in this day and age to just shut off, except for our Shabbos, Baruch Hashem. But to just, let me just think. Let me just daven from my heart. Let me just ponder. Let me just talk to Hashem quietly. Not the big hoo-ha, loud fanfare, but just let me have this conversation. And then there's the tefillah. Sometimes actually in Shmon Esrei, we're so quick to Shmon Esrei so quickly. Finish, bracha, 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 but hold on, shniya. Baruch atah Hashem, rof hacholim. Shniya, digest it. Stop. After each bracha, what if we just stopped? What if we just paused? Gave a break in between all the loud, all the big brachas, all the written, to just, let me just digest. Let me just absorb what I just said. Let me just actually daven and mean what I just said. And now I want to get to the second shofar blowing. Because the second one, the one that we finish Yom Kippur off with, Yom Kippur is actually my favorite day of the whole year. I love Yom Kippur. The cleaning, the intimacy with Hashem, the opportunity to lifnei Hashem titaru, the opportunity to start again. I don't know. Does it get any better than that? We spend the whole day. Actually, the irony is, I'm actually traveling tomorrow morning because I'm going to speak someplace over Yom Kippur. The irony is, I actually, for as long as I can remember, don't speak on Yom Kippur, except to Hashem. My kids know, Mommy only talks to Hashem all Yom Kippur. And it's like a joke. Hashem is having a good time laughing at Jen here. Like, how you think you don't talk? I'm going to go send you someplace where you're going to talk so much on Yom Kippur. Sada hineni Hashem, whatever you want, I'll do. But Yom Kippur is the most intimate day. It's, when you can picture Hashem, mamash in front of you, which we're meant to do, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I have a little trick, by the way. I don't know. I'm getting a little personal here, but I might as well. It's intimate here. When I start Shmon Esrei, I have this thing, I don't know where it came from, but I have this thing that I take my 3 steps back and I kind of picture, where am I? Meaning not physically, where do I want to be? Yeah? Do I want to be in Chevron, Maras HaMachpelah right now? Do I want to be in Kever Rachel? Do I want to be at the beach with Hashem? Do I want to be out in a field private with Him? Do I want to be in Hamon Am, in Azarat Nashim, before Kodesh HaKodeshim? And I stop and I picture where I am, because it transforms my tefillah. Like, where is Hashem with me now? Where am I addressing Hashem? What's my environment? And it actually, I like chavayot. I go places I like to experience. I go around Israel and this kever tzaddik and this, different places in Eretz Yisrael. So I have a lot of, index cards I can pull out in my head. But, and sometimes it's really just where I am right now, in my makom, kavua, in my shul, but it really helps you recognize Hashem is in front of you, because you've made that place. Like your happy place, it's my spiritual place. But here we are, Yom Kippur, blessed with a day that we can spend the day with Hashem and only talk to Him. Actually, I'm going to go on one more tangent. I apologize. I've always been obsessed with Seder HaAvodah of Yom Kippur. I don't know. It's always been a thing for me. Kilo, I guess when we realize that it's actually going to be real, it's real. My Binyamin, one of the things that he had when he was 16, one of the things that he said he wanted to accomplish was to be a Kohen. And unlike our mechutanim, we're not Kohanim. And always, I spent time trying to understand, what is it that Binyamin meant when he said, he wrote. I didn't know this. I didn't have the opportunity to speak to him about this. I only found out afterwards. When he said he wants to be a Kohen, what was he thinking? What was... A few days ago, I had somebody from the army come over to deliver Binyamin's gun. And after schmoozing with him a lot, he said to me, I feel like a bowl lake. I feel like an empty pit. I know nothing. I learned Torah just to pass Bagrut. I don't know anything. I said, you don't have to know anything to know that you, in my eyes, are a Kohen Gadol. I said to him, when we have Seder Avodah on Yom Kippur, a Kohen doesn't sleep. He doesn't eat. He definitely, all these Kohanim clothing, they're very, I imagine, they're not so comfortable. And so many layers, and these tachrichim, they're not comfortable. And they're also tired. They've been up. And these kelim of the Beit HaMikdash, they're not so light. Yes, they're very heavy and uncomfortable. You have to be very strong. They're not like our bamboo chad pa'ami, lo yodat ma. This is like big, heavy kelim. And you know what happens also? They have to be incredibly careful. There's a very significant chance that they might not make it through alive. They spill one little bit. One little of the ashes, they might not make it. Would they do it anyway? You best bet. These Kohanim, they don't care if they ate, if they slept, if they had their coffee, or they didn't sleep on a mattress, or they don't care. They don't care if their clothes are uncomfortable, their gear is too heavy, they don't care. They're doing it anyway. You know why? They do it for Am Yisrael. They're ready to be Moser Nefesh for Am Yisrael. And they don't care if it means that if they do something a little off, a millimeter off, they might die. They'll do it anyway for Am Yisrael, and they fight for the position. So this is what I said to the Magad of Tzanchanim. Ata Kohen Gadol. Because you do exactly the same thing that the Kohen Gadol does in Kodesh HaKodashim on Seder Yom HaKippurim. Be'enai, maybe that's what Binyamin had in mind. I'm sure not to that extent. He was 16, but I'm sure he understood that it's about living for Am Yisrael, a Kohen Gadol, and all Kohanim. They live for Am Yisrael. They're there to serve. They're there to take care of the people, putting their own needs aside. And this is the Seder Avodah that's going on Yom Kippurim. A Kohen Gadol that is there serving, working all day, changing his clothes, constantly changing, constantly washing, constantly doing. And we get to read and reenact and bow down as if we are hearing Shem HaMeforash. No, doesn't it sound great? But you know what, Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be doing this in Yerushalayim very soon. And Benji Cohen's going to have a job. Azeu. So what happens? At the end of all of this, we hear the shofar. At the end of Ne'ilah. This is when I lose it. Hashem, please don't leave us. I can actually start crying right now, because that feeling of Hashem, after all this intimate time, after a whole Elul and Aseret Tshuva, and now hours with him on Yom Kippurim, and now he's ascending and he's leaving. Ma, Hashem, don't leave me. Don't leave, don't leave, don't leave. And we blow this shofar. I actually have something, you know what, I'm going to read it here. I actually have something that I have in the back of my machzor that I read every time. I always think that after 120, when I give my kids whatever I'm not giving, but they're taking everything that I leave here in this world, they don't understand. Partly they know mom doesn't care about jewelry. You want something that's valuable, that's precious. It's the tears that went into the machzor. This is like probably my most prized possession. But this is something that every shofar blowing, at the end of Yom Kippur, I read. And I'm going to share with you. It's a piece that was in the Mishpacha many years ago by Rebbetzin Zahava Bronstein. And she shares, please tell me, how do people transition so seamlessly from the immense, intense moments of supplication to complete joy and serenity? Can't see even with my glasses. They daven, shed tears, and then the shofar blows. Ta-da! They start to sing and dance. Yes, my husband said, of course. And as long as the gates of mercy, the gates of Rachamim and Shemaim are still open, you can accomplish. Keep crying. When the gates are open and you are begging and pleading for life, you want that life and you're begging and you're crying and you're pleading, keep davening. You can fight. You can cleanse. You can overturn a decree. Even pure thought, genuine tear counts. But once the gates have closed, we must have bitachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has accepted our entreaties. And if that's the case, who wouldn't sing and who wouldn't dance? This is where Emunah and bitachon come in. This is where, Hashem, I've put in everything I can. I've been before you for all this time. I've been so close to you. And now, Zil, you're closing the Shemayim up. And I know that I'm coming out clean as white, heading into our new marriage. Yes, Yom Kippur is really a new marriage with Hashem. So much so that, by the way, after this shofar blow, and everybody's singing and dancing, where are we going? We're heading into Sukkot. We're heading now into Hashem's Bait. You know, they say about the Arizal. Rav Pincus brings down, but the Arizal really talks about this, that the Sukkah is, Amma 2.5. It's really a chibuk. It's Hashem holding us close. And then we head to Hoshana Rabbah, Binyamin's birthday, by the way. Hoshana Rabbah, Nishikot Pil, like Hashem is just kissing us. And then we get to Shmini Atzeret, the day of Yichud. We're in the Cheder Yichud with Hashem. It's only me and you. It's only us. The world doesn't exist. And that is what the shofar blow that finishes Yom Kippurim is. It is closing off the awe and the love, the yearning of getting close to saying, now we get to party with it. We get to enjoy the wedding simcha dancing. We get to bring you into the house together and stay close. And that's where we're going to be all throughout Sukkot. And this is the shofar blowing. That on one hand is, I always think of it as like the breaking of the glass at the wedding. It's not really like that, but that feeling of like it can be two things at once. Yes, because everybody, even though it's about Zecher L'Chorban, but it's also, as we know, everybody immediately goes into the Mazel Tovs and singing for the couple. This is the feeling I personally have, Chalila, not Zecher L'Chorban, but that feeling of Hashem, please don't leave me. And at the same time, I'm going to be dancing with you from here on in. And that's the second shofar blow. And this is the level that we are aiming to reach. That is our pisgah that we are aiming to get towards during these days, to build this relationship through our silence. And now it's interesting, when I said at the beginning that how was I supposed to come up with a title? And is there really such silence now? What does it mean, silence? There's no way anything, if you go to any of these slichot, you go to the Kotel. Tonight we're going to Chevron, Be'ezrat Hashem hold, and we'll see. And these slichot are anything but silent. They're parties. They're dancing. They're simcha. They're joy of getting close and cleanse. You go to Migdal, you go to anywhere. All these slichot of gatherings, except for the nebuch ones that are you're just tired and you're just getting through. But I'm not talking about. I'm talking the real ones. Yes, these are such joyous times, and they're not silent at all. When I said silent, it means it has to come from within us. It's not the fireworks from above. It's by far not necessarily quiet. It's from inside of us. It's our internal. It's stemming from our neshama, and that is what Hashem is waiting for. That is what Hashem is wanting. That's Hashem. That's what He wants to hear. He wants to hear our silence, which is really just coming from us. And this is really, I believe, our tafkid now during these days, these last few hours, likrat Yom Kippurim, when we get to go into that Kabbalat Torah Shniya, when we get to go into the canopy with Hashem, under His kittel, under His talis, and we just get to be with that yichud of tefillah, of turning to Him, begging to be cleansed, but at the same time knowing that He wants it just as badly as we do. I always picture Hashem standing there, like any parent that waits for their child at the airport after not seeing them for so long. I picture them at the airport with their arms wide open and just come, run to me. And kacha ani medamyanet. Hashem, this is how I picture Hashem waiting for us at that time. And before we escort Him up, that's how I picture Him. Hashem just saying, come into my arms. I'm waiting for you. And so be'ezrat Hashem, we should be zocher. That shofar blast at the end will be reminding us that we too will be will be hearing that shofar blow of the Mashiach coming, be'ezrat Hashem, celebrating in Yerushalayim habnuya, be'ezrat Hashem kvar hashana.